Okay, so the first step in the process is to assemble the temperature probes. For this step, we will need our temperature probe as well as a pair of wire strippers. The temperature probe is made up of a sensor, here encapsulated in the silver, as well as three internal wires, a blue, a red, and a black. The black is for ground, the blue is for the input, and the red is for power. Before we get started, we're going to give ourselves some room to work. So using your wire cutters, you're going to cut the external casing for the probe back a bit. Careful not to cut the three internal internal wires at all. So after making an initial cut into the external housing, just pull those three wires through a little bit and then cut the remainder off with your cutters. Now we're going to cut back about 1 millimeter of the casing around each colored wire using our wire strippers, using the second setting on the wire strippers. Now doing this will remove the outer casing and expose the inner copper wire. Now, once you have all three of those internal wires stripped, we're going to attach the contacts and housing to the ends of the temperature probes. So to do this, we're going to need three crimp contacts and a crimp housing, as well as our ratcheted crimper and our narrow pliers. The first thing here to do is to attach the crimp housing onto the end of the exposed wire. Now the crimp housing is designed with a triangle portion, a square portion, and a plug portion. And the trick here is to have the triangle portion be aligned with the cable housing and the rectangle or square portion to be aligned with the exposed wire. Now the crimp casing won't stay there on its own, so if we use our narrow head pliers, we can lightly pinch the triangle portion so that it stays put onto the wire before we get to crimping. Once you have the crimp contact appropriately aligned onto the signal wire, place it into the ratcheted crimp. The crimper is designed with two halves, a left half and a right half. The left half is designed to compress the triangle side of the crimp contact, and the right half is designed to crimp the square portion. When you place the left half of the crimp contact into the teeth of the crimper, the left half of the contact will be flush with the left side of the crimper, and the cube, which serves as the plug on the right, will stick out from the crimper. Be careful not to pinch the cube portion of the crimp contact, or you will have to start over. A proper crimp will hold tight onto the wire and also make good contact with the copper while the cube plug remains intact. Now you can go ahead and repeat that same process of attaching the crimp contact to the other two wires. Each crimp contact will slide into the slots of the crimp housing in the direction shown here. The crimp contacts have direction, so when inserting the crimp contacts into the crimp housing, make sure that the side that was flattened by the crimper is facing up, and the side of the housing with the tabs is also facing up. It is also important to get the proper order. So on the left, we want the blue wire, or the signal wire. In the center, we want the black ground wire, and on the right, we want the red power wire. And this will eventually be plugged into our board, so it's important that we remain a consistent order for all of the plugs that we make. When it's correctly placed into the crimp housing, the wires should not be loose in the housing, and the small tabs on the housing should be flat, locking the crimps into place. They should not be able to be removed easily.